1,000 species there. These are all species that are impacted by riparian grazing, and they're both birds and fish. Those happen to be the fish species there. I don't know where the bird species are. There's some mammal species, and let's see, well, I don't know where the bird species went, but at any rate, we'll get, oh, there are the bird species down there from 1 through 23. All have the various impacts from cattle grazing. And there's some snails even there that I'm not going to show you today, but I will show you the fish and some of the mammals. This was done by an artist in California, but she'd been to Arizona and she knew what our problems were. There's what it looked like historically, which she wasn't there, but we gave her some ideas. And this is today after she visited a few times, and I think she went to the wrong grazing allotments, but that's what she saw. And the 5 animals at the top are the grasshopper, the housefly, the horsefly, the hornlark, and the killdeer, which have done very well under cattle grazing. They like the open, arid, barren prairies. The mammals, on the other hand, haven't fared so well, as you can see from there, and the riparian vegetation, of course, disappeared. This is a riparian obligate, and of course needs wetlands, and all wetlands face the same problem here in Arizona. That's the least bittern. And the bald eagles do much better when they nest in cottonwoods and willows rather than on cliffs, even though they pick cliffs that are on rivers because that's where the fish are. But the temperatures are lower in the trees, and they don't get mites on their body and on their young in the trees as they do on the cliffs. So their productivity is much better in trees, but the problem is that cottonwoods and willows are the favorite vegetation, and as you know, the saplings and seedlings of cottonwoods and willows are browsed aggressively by cattle. It's almost impossible to create exclosures if there's cattle in the area. Swainson's hawks, a grassland species. Grass, that likes grass, cows like grass. The two don't go together. Same there. That's prairie, northeastern Arizona. Comes down here in the winter, and it dukes it out for prairie habitat for grasslands. If there's no grass, there's no prey base for the mammals they need for their survival. And the Aplomado falcons were here till about 1870, 1880, when ranching came in and the lands were cleared, and the grasslands were replaced, of course, with heavy grazing in southeastern Arizona. And in New Mexico and Texas, they've tried to reintroduce them in some ranches where there's very judicious and cautious grazing, and they've had some modest success, but if you want to see any of them, you'll have to go to Mexico. This is just a typical riparian incursion that impacts so many species, not just birds, but of course mammals and reptiles and insectivores. The masked bobwhite is historically and notoriously a grassland obligate. This is a riparian obligate. It's on the endangered species list, or I think it's been petitioned by the center just recently to be listed, as endangered. And it's found on the streams in Arizona in the southern and western portions in very small numbers, because there are very small numbers of cottonwoods and willows and riparian vegetation for them. The Cactus ferruginous pygmy owl is also dependent upon not just desert habitat, but some habitat that's related to riparian and wetland improvements in the area. And also overgrazing removes its prey base that it depends upon for the mammals and insects that it eats. The trogon, of course, is a riparian obligate in southeastern Arizona and strictly dependent upon riparian areas, which are in jeopardy, of course, from grazing. Likewise, kingfisher, it's the same with all birds along streams that eat fish. They're in competition with cattle grazing. And the southwest willow flycatcher, an endangered species, is very well known for the center's activities to try to rescue it. It's very much a riparian obligate. Buff-breasted flycatcher, very subtle, and these were listed by the Game and Fish Department. I think I put on the date when they listed them in many years ago. And I think it was about 1995. I think it says on your thing somewhere. I don't know what the reason is for that being listed, except that it does like brushy areas. The thick-billed kingbird, strictly riparian species of southeastern Arizona. And if there's cows munching the cottonwood and willow saplings and seedlings, there are no thick-billed kingbirds. Of course, they are, of course, attracted to water. They need water for survival, and that's also where the vegetation is. Rose-breasted beckard, another riparian obligate, and dependent upon wetlands and streams. And this one, on the other hand, is more open field and grasslands, but it does depend on quality arboreal vegetation, and it has been listed by the Game and Fish Department as an impact. The Game and Fish said it was an impact to cattle, or from cattle. The veery is a montane species, but it likes brushy habitats and requires some protection of its brushy areas. The Swainson's thrush prefers more wetlands areas, and the gray catbird is long streams in southern Arizona. If there are no streams that have vegetation, there's no place for them to nest. They like very dense vegetation to nest in, bushes and shrubs. If they've been browsed by cattle, of course, there's no place for gray catbirds. The Sprague's pipits, open field in direct competition with all cattle. It's an open meadow. It likes this kind of meadow. There it's competing with. The pipits are competing with the cows or vice versa. The Baird's sparrow is likewise a grassland species, another grassland species in southeastern Arizona. People come from all over the United States to see a lot of our birds that are listed here. And some of them are hanging on. People from all over the United States come to see this thing, and it's along streams with brushy vegetation in the Nogales area. It's a beautiful bird, great singer. And we get some of John Rennie's photos coming up here. These are some of the fish that are I'm not a fish person, but our present president, I can photograph any fish and send it to him on email, and he'll tell me exactly what it is. Our Audubon chapter president here in Maricopa County. So some bird watchers are really into fish. He's a fly fisherman too. Yaki shiner, very much impacted, of course. All these by livestock grazing, as well as dams and reclamation. Sonoran chub, Gila chub, there's Yaki chub. Some of these were big enough to eat, and the pioneers ate some of them, but now they're, as the list is handed out there, shows a lot of them are federally listed as endangered now. And anywhere where there's water, there's, of course, the competition that they have. The pioneers used to eat those when they got pretty good size. They'd salt them and store them all winter. The virgin chub and virgin spine dace, very small, but very important endangered species, part of our ecosystem. Some of these photographs are John Rennie's, and of course there are not many native fish there. Loach minnow is another one. There's John's name on there. Yaki shiner, or sucker, and Yaki catfish, and another riparian competitor. And these Apache trout are listed by the Game and Fish Department as impacted by cattle. Likewise, and this is one of the few native pupfish that I've seen, and you can't see them anymore now because Quito Biquito is closed because it's right a mile from the Mexican border and everything's protected down there. It is one of the most gorgeous things you've ever seen when the males and the females are in there breeding plumage. It's just unbelievable. All of these in their breeding, whatever it's called, phases are just unbelievable. I think this one's only found in California now, is that correct? It used to be in Arizona, but it was relocated to California. So that's the only place it survives now. A lot of these pupfish have just disappeared. It's very sad. There's a, mixed in at the end here, I have a few raptors. That's a rangeland species. It's just absolutely dependent on open meadows, grasslands, fields. And likewise, well, the Aplomado falcon was a species of our open fields, southeastern Arizona. And the Cactus frusinus pygmy owl, of course, is any of the riparian areas along streams. The bald eagle again, but the part is that they are protected, and species like that are doing, flagship species like that are doing a lot to protect our rivers and streams in Arizona because the public generally identifies with a beautiful thing like the national emblem. And lastly, the garter snake, it has competition from a lot of introduced things, not just cattle, but and riparian ones. But it's kind of interesting. I'll tell you what one of its big competitors is crayfish and bullfrogs. I know what most of you think about those two. And that's the end. And if you have any questions.